Alrighty, so I've already done a video talking about some comic book characters that I really need to read some series on that I haven't yet. Um, but I've got another one, and we're here to talk about DC and Marvel big epic storylines I haven't read yet, and I really need to. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. As always, if this is your first time here, welcome. Please, if at any point you like what you see or hear, be sure to hit that notification bell, subscribe, and hit the thumbs up, as that really does help us with the YouTube algorithm. So with that said, let's get on into this one. So I decided when I was doing this one that I really needed to break this up because I could probably easily pick some indie stuff, storyline wise, and DC and Marvel. And I just decided, let's just do DC and Marvel this time around, and then I will probably come back down the road at some point, if you guys like this video, and do indie stuff. So with that said, let's kind of get on into it. I've got 3 Marvel and 3 DC storylines I haven't read yet, and these are some of the biggest storylines probably in comic history, let alone just for these 2 companies. So let's get right on into it. So I'm going to start out with Marvel, and the first one on this list is the Dark Phoenix saga. This, other than the fact that this is one of the bigger storylines from Marvel, this was the first kind of major event for me that I wanted to learn about. And the reason is because I remember the Dark Phoenix saga from the X-Men cartoon. I remember they did a big thing leading up to the premiere of that particular, I guess, season or that series of episodes. And so I was really captured by the Dark Phoenix character and that saga in general. But as with a lot of things, of course, the TV show and the movie, usually are not very much like the comic itself. So I know I need to read it. I need to check it out. Not to mention, I haven't read too many comics that are from the 80s and even the 90s. So it'd be kind of cool to go back and see how I feel about stuff from back in that time, in terms of the art, how they set up the pages in terms of, your panels, and just the writing to see what it was like, then versus now, because it is definitely a different thing today versus, yesteryear. So I'm very curious to see what that is like. So the next big Marvel event is Secret Wars. This one spawned because obviously, Civil War was so good, and so I was told Secret Wars was really good. There are a lot of movies and things that I watch where I don't have any context of the characters, background, storyline, anything. Civil War was kind of the same way. The only thing I knew about Civil War when it came out was that everyone was like, it was absolutely nothing like the book. Which, having read Civil War, true. Absolutely not even close. So, but Secret Wars is definitely something that I want to check out and learn about, just because it's one of those all-encompassing Marvel Universe things. And I like the way Marvel does their big universe stuff like that. It's not just always certain groups of characters have this big event. It's the universe, and I like that. And my last Marvel one on this list, considering that we just had like a 10-year movie run, the Infinity Gauntlet. Gotta read it. Gotta understand what Thanos was like, how important the Infinity Stones really and truly are, and just to understand just that whole thing that I got to see on screen a little bit better than I do right now. So yeah, that is definitely one I'm going to check out. And again, it's an older series, so I'll be very curious. It's again, older comics are something I'm kind of starting to get into. I at first, when I started reading, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of on a lot of the art in older comics. But as I've matured, my tastes have broadened. Now I'm much more in a place where I'm like, all right, let's check it out. Let's see what we got. So now moving on to my last 3. As you can imagine, these are going to be the DC storylines. So again, these are big ones. Number 1 on this DC list, Dark Knight Returns. My extent of Dark Knight Returns is the 2 movies that they did. I want to say it was 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe even longer, but they did the animated movies for Dark Knight Returns, and that's all I knew about it. Took me a while to learn, that's Frank Miller thing, how important Frank Miller is, not only to comics, but Batman, and what the Dark Knight Returns series did for all of Batman moving forward. So I'd like to read the comic form of it, because I want to know how different it was from the animated movie. One thing about animated movies is they can be a lot closer to the comic itself, but again, I don't know how many liberties they actually took that may not have been in the book, or that are slightly different from the book. So I'm very curious to see that, and then moving forward, I can see how that impacted all of Batman that we might see today. Number 2 on this list is on this list for a couple of reasons. One, Jay raves about this storyline all the time, so him talking about it has drilled it into my head. 2, Alex Ross is absolutely one of my favorite artists, period. His art is stunning. If you've never looked at an Alex Ross cover, or just an entire book done for him, I've got Marvels for instance, it is utterly amazing. So you can probably guess what I'm talking about, and I'm talking about Kingdom Come. It's an Elseworld story, so they're definitely not in canon with the main DC stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's an entire book done by Alex Ross, and it's a future version of the Justice League, and I'm very curious to see what that's like. See how an older Superman and older Wonder Woman, just how some of those characters are, down the line and facing threats. So again, that's just one of those. Hopefully the story is as good as the art. I think it's going to be, because I've heard enough people talk about it and say good things that I'm pretty sure I'm going to love the series no matter what. But that's definitely one where do yourself a favor and give your eyes a treat and check out Alex Ross art. That's really what I can say. Number 1 may arguably be one of the biggest comics series of all time, Death of Superman. Yeah, I know, bad Sean, but haven't read it. I've seen, again, the DC animated movie, and it was good. I want to read it. Dan Jurgens, I got a chance to see an interview with him on The Experience several months back, might have been even late last year. Just listening to him talk, what a brilliant mind in terms of just his feelings on comics, how he approaches writing. It just seems like a genuinely good dude. So I've got to read Death of Superman, because I realize that there are probably stories that are bigger, Batman Nightfall, Dark Knight Returns, stuff like that, but this is just one of those iconic moments, and I've got to see what it was like from a reader's perspective versus looking at it from a movie perspective. There's nothing more I can really say about that one. I need to read it. It's a shame I haven't. Bad Sean. So yeah, those are some of the biggest series that I have not read from just Marvel and DC. Again, let me know in the comments if you like the concept of this, and if you'd like me to do indie storylines, because I can think of a couple. Might be able to come up with a list of hopefully about 4, maybe 5, and just let me know. But also, please leave a comment. Let me know DC and Marvel stuff that I've got to read. I know there is one Marvel book on here, Daredevil Born Again. I understand that's one of the other kind of quintessential Frank Miller books. I will definitely try to read that as well, because Daredevil is just my favorite character, so I want to see what that's like. So yeah, again, I'm going to stop rambling, get out of here. Please enjoy the rest of your week. Hug your loved ones. I'll catch you next time. Later, everybody.